I want to talk a little bit about political division, because we've all heard this before. We need to heal the divisions in this country. Our country has never been so divided.
On this January day, my whole soul is in this, bringing America together, uniting our people, uniting our nation.
And part of what we know has been happening in the last several years in our country is there's some powerful forces that are trying to divide us as Americans.
The discord and division in our society must be healed. We must heal it quickly.
It's a popular narrative that political dividedness is a problem, perhaps the problem that we need to solve. But it doesn't really hold up. The assumption that we're living in a uniquely divided time is wrong. We're not more divided than ever. In fact, what's happening is something else entirely. Let's be clear. Political division is not new. Intense political division is not new. Far from it. Think back through history. The fight for civil rights, the fight for suffrage, the fight for labor rights, protests against the Vietnam War. Conflict has always been an essential part of politics. Not just American politics, but politics generally. In fact, conflict is the condition of politics. In his book, The Concept of the Political, the German political theorist, he's also something else, but we'll leave that aside for now, Nazi, he was a Nazi, and a jurist, Carl Schmitt, identifies the concept of the political itself, that is the very idea of what makes something political, with the idea of the friend-enemy distinction. Quote, "The political is the most intense and extreme antagonism, and every concrete antagonism becomes that much more political the closer it approaches the most extreme point, that of the friend-enemy grouping." Unquote. The point is not that politics is encompassed by friends and enemies. The point is that whatever it is that we're talking about when we're talking about politics, we're closest to it when there is a contention between two parties with different positions and opposing wants and needs. That's what politics is about. It's an alternative to war for sorting out disagreements. It presumes division. No division, no politics. Division is not the problem for us or for anyone. We have to assume it under democratic forms of government. That's what politics is. What's actually changed is how we respond to these disagreements, how we get locked into different sides of these divisions, because that's new. Everyone, more so than at any other point in history, is now involved at the most intense moment of those disagreements, in the fight. The immediate content of these disagreements has thus become an imminent problem for ordinary people. Right away, right now, their anxieties are being stirred up. Their friendships and their families are being broken up. Constantly, they are being fed through their earphones, directly into their heads, terrifying messages about how any compromise, any room whatsoever given to the opposing side is going to spell disaster for them and the people they love. And that's true, by the way. But the problem is not that the stakes are high. The stakes have always been high. What's changed is that the stakes of individual discussions for everyone, not just politicians and media pundits, but for average people at the grocery store, at work, at church, at school, for them, these discussions have taken on a new desperation. People are not just afraid. People are not just angry. They are afraid and angry constantly. And they are constantly looking for representation, for something to make them feel good or better, or to channel their anxiety. And this brings us to the real problem. It's not that we're more divided. It's that compromise has become impossible because of a system of incentives that has made it too costly to risk. And one major reason for this is that people who shape political discourse, politicians, media pundits, occasionally even content creators, they are incentivized to never change their position. There's a whole system in place that rewards consistency, not personal growth, not wisdom, not being right, consistency. Let's talk about incentives. Politicians, pundits, and content creators are rewarded for staying the same. Building an audience means appealing to people who are looking for a particular kind of message, changing that message, growing beyond your audience. Being convinced of things that your audience doesn't already agree with risks alienating them, risks separating yourself from your income, from the political viability of your platform. How you build and maintain a loyal following is through consistency. It's through never deviating from the line you've established. This creates a dynamic where shifting your views is very high risk. So what happens? People double down. People double down in ways that sometimes make them seem very stupid. And the truth is that it's not that they're stupid. Sometimes they are. But more often than not, it's because they can't afford to be wrong. They can't afford to take in new information and adjust their position because it betrays the character that they've established, that their audience is attached to, that gives them their identity, that gives them their place in the landscape. And this is why political discourse has become so repetitive. It's not just because people are stubborn. It's because they're incentivized not to grow. And the result is that everybody digs in. Stick to their talking points. Keep delivering the same tired message because it's the safest path. Whether you're a politician trying to get reelected or a creator trying to keep your Patreon afloat, you need to be the same. You need to be familiar, recognizable, and safe. And this is why political debates have become so boring. The same arguments are being recycled over and over again because the system rewards consistency, and people are modeling themselves off of other people who... And people are imitating one another in an attempt to ape each other's success, so that you have a whole lot of young, up-and-coming content creators who end up just being new iterations of previously existing ones, and there's never any development. There's no change. People don't get better or smarter or more informed or more conscientious. They're always the same. Different iterations of the same character played over and over and over again like a play. Which brings us back to the idea of political division. Because what we're dealing with isn't some unprecedented era of division. Of polarization, yes, but that's different. That has to do with the range of viable options, not how entrenched people are in their positions and whether or not they can actually discourse or communicate or compromise with one another. We are in a culture where flexibility and compromise are discouraged, powerfully, not just socially but also financially. The debates we're seeing now are boring and repetitive because they're not about exploring new solutions or perspectives or about having a meeting of the minds. They're about reinforcing existing positions, or more specifically, reinforcing that the participants represent those specific positions. It doesn't even matter if they argue them well. The point is they stood up and were counted as on side A or B. And this makes real dialogue impossible. Impossible. Think about it. Every time a politician or content creator tries to step out of their established lane, tries to go off brand, they risk losing everything they've built. And that's why you rarely see people change their minds or take new approaches. It's not because of ideology. That plays a part, but more than anything, it's financial. No one wants to alienate their audience and lose their livelihood and their reputation politically and their place. So, what do? Well, to start with, we should readjust our perspectives. Stop treating dividedness as if it's some kind of horrendous problem that we need to solve. Stop indulging in facile notions of healing the divisions in our country or in our discourse or whatever. Maybe the problem we should be addressing is the cycle of repetition itself. The system of reinforcements that keep us from being able even to be willing to risk the idea of being convinced by opposing opinions. Because fundamentally the challenge is to create an environment where people, whether we're talking about politicians or content creators, are free to some minimal extent to evolve their positions without fear of being taken out of the game. Because this creates very powerful incentive structures that lock us into rigid patterns of thought. Everyone is playing it safe, staying in their lane, delivering the same message they've been delivering for years, and the result is that nothing changes. We just keep hearing the same arguments over and over. If we want real dialogue, if we want debates that actually go somewhere, that actually evolve to the next level, we need to address the incentives. We need to create room for growth, for change, for ideas to actually evolve. And until we do that, we'll just keep seeing the same boring, predictable debates over and over until the end of time, because that's what the system rewards. And what the system rewards is what the system will produce. As always, thank you for listening, and take care.